Most of you aren't subscribed. Make sure to subscribe, as it helps out the channel. Without further ado, begrudgingly trudging through the snow, Yuji realizes that his companions are quite uncomfortable with the cold weather, so Yuji looks for a spell to help out, casting a cold-resistant spell on everyone. As Yuji finally makes it to Ricardo's gates, he's greeted by a guard, who is surprised to have a visitor, especially due to the weather. On top of that, the guard tells Yuji that the snow had only started 10 days ago, out of nowhere, even claiming some of the villagers' lives. Asking about Yuji's reason for wanting to enter Ricardo, Yuji proudly states that he's here for the food, he's heard good things off. Walking through town, Yuji notes the quiet and empty streets, reasoning that because the snow started 10 days ago, most villagers would have probably not had prepared for it. Heading to the Tiger's Flame Tavern, which was suggested by the guard to have amazing food, Yuji apologizes for the intrusion, seeing that the owner is packing things up. Apologizing, the owner states that she won't be able to serve Yuji anytime soon, as their establishment is completely out of firewood, having used it all for heating. Looking around the room, Yuji is able to see that the establishment is quite refined, motivating him to search for a solution. Apparently, the owner can't accept just any wood, as genuine firewood must be kept dry and aged for at least a year. Hearing this, Yuji heads to a nearby forest, asking if his companions have any ideas to get this dry-aged firewood, but they all don't have a clue. Thinking for a bit, Yuji summons an ordinary axe, enchanting it with physical boost, only to swing it in the direction of the forest, taking down a row of trees in a second. Cutting up the trees, and stacking them up, Yuji searches for a way to remove moisture from the wood, realizing that he can use his slimes to suck out the moisture. With some slimes eating up any moisture in the wood, Yuji has the slimes store the firewood, heading back to the tavern to tell the owner the good news. Given a piece of firewood, the owner rushes to get a second opinion on Yuji's firewood, but sadly the wood is too dry. Hearing this, Yuji simply has his slime moisturize the firewood a bit, impressing the cook, as the firewood is now optimal for burning. Seeing the chef and owner grateful for the single piece of wood, Yuji gives them the massive pile of wood he had just obtained, ordering his slimes to adjust the moisture in the wood, so it's perfect for burning. Thankful for the valuable wood, the chef immediately begins cooking something special for Yuji, presenting him with a beautiful chunk of meat with vegetables. With a single bite, Yuji is sent to heaven, noting how the flavors complement one another when fused with the special sauce. Seeing Yuji appreciate his cooking, the chef reveals that his best dish is a special stew, but it may take some time to make. Believing that this chef will surprise him, Yuji states that he'll be back soon to taste his stew, but before Yuji leaves, he learns that the entire town is also in need of firewood. Wanting to help out, Yuji heads to this town's guild, seeing if there are any quests for firewood. Upon spotting some, Yuji registers himself as an adventurer in town only to be told by the receptionist that he needs to head to the East Gate, where the instructor Wodka will teach Yuji about the instructions and requirements for the firewood. Meeting up with Wodka, Wodka is happy to teach Yuji, as he's in need of more people to help cut wood. Wodka states that even with all the manpower they have currently, the amount of wood they cut is not enough to sustain their village, along with nearby villages. Hearing this, Yuji asks if the village of Messiahs is doing okay, but Wodka gives Yuji a strange look, as it's well known the village of Messiahs has been abandoned for years. Changing topics, Wodka asks if Yuji has any experience cutting wood, asking Yuji to demonstrate what he knows. Getting to work, Yuji takes out his axe, immediately cutting down multiple trees with a single swing. As Wodka and other cutters watch in awe at Yuji's skills, Yuji nonchalantly cuts the trees into perfect pieces of firewood, having his slimes absorb the moisture, storing the wood in the slimes, only to rinse and repeat. As Wodka and Yuji return to guild, Wodka voices how impressed he is with Yuji's skills, prompting the receptionist to mention that Yuji reminds her of the legend involving a beastmaster, who used slimes just like Yuji to perform amazing acts. Having finished filling the guild with firewood, Yuji asks for a place to unload the rest, leaving everyone speechless, as he takes out 3 days' worth of firewood. Asking if there are more quests that involve gathering firewood, Yuji immediately gets to work, cutting down more trees, and having his companions create and transport the firewood into town. With a single day spent cutting wood, Yuji returns to the cook, finally being served the cook's famous stew, but for the companions, they are given an alternative of delicious meat and vegetables. As Yuji and his companions dig into a well-earned meal, they all get an out-of-body experience, stunned at the food's intricate flavors that are able to create such a sensation. Finishing up the meal, Yuji wonders if the chef has any other amazing dishes, learning that the village's crops have been terrorized recently by boars, making the chef's dishes not as perfect as he wanted. Hearing this, Yuji sends his companions to scout the crop fields, having some stand guard around the field's perimeters, and the rest begins hunting for the boars. Luckily, Yuji's slimes run into one, not too soon after, easily slaying the boar with Yuji's transferred magic. As the slimes look around the forest, they easily begin racking up boar kills, totaling 50, but they stop, reporting that they've discovered a mysterious orb. Personally investigating the orb with the help of the dryad, Yuji notices that the orb is absorbing his mana, deducing that the orb must be made with dragon's grace. Asking the dryad if there is something strange with the area, the dryad states that the area they are currently in is quite low in magic, which could explain the abnormal weather conditions, as low mana places are cold, and dense mana places are quite hot. Wondering if these orbs could occur naturally, Yuji finds out that these orbs can only be man-made, which makes sense, as all the other red crystals they've encountered so far have been man-made, and were also infused with dragon's grace. Dispelling and destroying the orb before them, Yuji orders his slimes to search for similar orbs, eventually locating around 100+ orbs, scattered all across the forest. Taking out a map, Yuji begins plotting down the locations of each orb found in the forest, which forms a mysterious circle. Guessing that something may be happening at the center of this circle, the gang make their way towards the center of the circle, but upon reaching the spot, Yuji immediately sees something strange with how the terrain is. Knowing that the trees in the center of the circle are concealing something, Yuji asks that all his slimes leave the area, asking for his wolf to help gather them. Asking for permission to destroy this area of the forest, the dryad reluctantly agrees, as she has full faith in whatever Yuji is doing. Blasting the forest with his dragon's breath, Yuji creates a massive crater where the forest used to be, but as the smoke clears, they all spot a secret entrance, leading deeper into the ground. Knowing that this may be the cause of the unusual weather, Yuji and his companions wonder if they should even mess with whatever twisted things are happening below. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, like and comment.